Hey everybody, Vice here, and I'm actually going to discuss Pokemon Moon, because I actually beat it recently. I'm going to give my overall thoughts on the game. As for reference, I'm actually going to talk about the 5th gen as well with this, because that's my favorite generation, and I'm going to talk about that as well while going through it to decide whether if Pokemon Moon has actually surpassed my favorite game and has actually become my favorite game. So there's that. Anyway, let's start off with the beginning, as honestly this is probably where... Also, I'm going to try to avoid spoilers as well. We're going to start from the beginning, and honestly this is where the game is probably at its worst. Like, I know for like newcomers to the series or people returning to the series from the past need to know about more stuff about the game and talk about the new content with a tutorial for the beginning. But like another review of the game that I saw on YouTube that I watched talked about how the beginning is slow, and after him saying that and me looking at the game again that way, yeah, I can kind of understand why, and now that's actually a huge problem with the beginning of the game. It is slow because of the tutorial. I would say the tutorial stops after like between an hour and a half to the somewhere between an hour and a half to the 3-hour mark. And yeah, that's kind of unforgivable. To the point where, not only is that easily one of the worst starts to a Pokemon game, but in all honesty, that might also be one of the worst starts to a game, period. It's that unforgivable. I mean, granted, it shows how vibrant and colorful and lovely the world that of Pokemon Moon is, but even then, once again, that beginning is just a bit unforgivable. That just is way too much. And I think the next thing I will talk about is some of the Pokemon. Now, usually each generation, I do have at least a good selection of Pokemon that I like to use. Despite this generation introduced a lot of good new Pokemon, what kind of Pokemon I wanted to use during my playthrough, I honestly didn't feel like I had that many choices, to the point where at the end of my journey, and I don't really consider this a spoiler, talking about what types of Pokemon I use, like if I use normal type, or if I used fire type, or fighting type, things like that. At the end of my journey, 4 out of the 6 of the Pokemon I used on my team were Ghost. Yeah. That was a thing. I think out of every other generation I had, I always had a choice where I knew enough Pokemon to where I knew I could have chosen more than 6, and I usually only choose 6 for my journey. And I usually have more options anyway, which is nice. But for some reason with this generation, it didn't feel like I had that many choices of Pokemon that I actually wanted to think about actually using. If I'm making that making that sound right. Yeah, I'm probably gonna say a lot because I haven't really done a non-scripted thing or done anything Let's Play related in freaking forever. You could argue saying that at least you don't have many choices. It doesn't take you forever to decide anything. Yes, but for a new generation like this, it should have made me feel like I had a lot more options during the main game. Because another thing I'm going to say is, I'm not counting the post-game for how well the game is. I usually consider the main story of the game they normally go through and the post-game two different things, so I'm not going to talk about the post-game. I haven't even started the post-game yet. I'm taking a break from it to do our stuff right now. I would say overall, for the story was actually really good. Also, in terms of 5th gen with how many choices I have for Pokemon, 5th gen I had like maybe, God, I think that's the one I have with most Pokemon I wanted to choose from. Like about 15 there's total that I felt like I could have chose from that I wanted to try out. Why, for this gen, it was actually only about 5 that I wanted, but I felt like I needed a full team for the journey, so I decided to use my Eevee, even though I didn't really want to. Because yes, one thing you do get is an Eevee, which honestly, at this point, I'm not going to really count as a spoiler, because it seems like every Pokemon game recently seems to have this thing where, hey, I'm going to give you an Eevee, okay? I hope you enjoy that. So in that case, I'm not consider that a spoiler if it's going to be done to death. Granted, some people might be mad that I stated that and they think it is a spoiler, but honestly, I just can't really consider that a spoiler. It just doesn't feel right to consider that a spoiler to me. So overall, in terms of the beginning and Pokemon, Gen 5 still beats that outright. One thing I say that this gen definitely beats out Gen 5 is the atmosphere of the game. That world of Pokemon Moon is so freaking beautiful. It's insane. It's also been the one thing I've been waiting for Pokemon forever. An area that's tropical, and I stated that I wanted a Pokemon game where it felt like a Hawaii-based area, and that's pretty much what we got. So that's what I really enjoyed. So that beats 5th gen out of the water, no doubt, because of that atmosphere of the game and the world. That definitely is a step in the right direction for the Pokemon series, and definitely Moon beats that over pretty much every other Pokemon game I can think of in terms of worlds. I'll go a bit easy. As for the story of the game, to be honest, once again, just like the long tutorial parts of the game, it felt like the story wasn't really... It had some story moments, but overall, it's like the beginning of the story was interesting, cool, and then like somewhere in the middle, it just like keeps dropping off, or hearing the same dialogue in terms of the story over again and again and again. And after hearing it over and over again, it got really annoying really fast. So, but when it got to the ending of the story of the game, that's when it's at its best, and wow, that was an experience. definitely all I can say on that without spoiling anything, because wow. Though I will say that there's two plot twists in that story. The very ending of the story, which I slightly didn't see coming, but it's better than the other plot twists of the story somewhere near the end, but not quite. Let's just say there's one plot twist that I saw coming a mile away. And honestly, I'd be surprised if someone didn't see it coming, because it's a bit too obvious, but anyway. So overall, because of how good the very ending of the story is, I'd say in terms of story and all, it actually ties for 5th gen there. In terms of length of the games, I would say that yeah, I can say that. I can say that in terms of length, because how the story went, I would say it also ties with the gen in terms of the length of the game. It was a good enough amount of content for the main story to tie it in terms of that. Also, another thing about the atmosphere that I really like is the culture-based stuff that you see throughout that you take part in throughout the game. That's really cool. Let's see. I think what I want to talk about next is the oh yeah, Team Skull, the new evil team of the game. Easy, without a doubt, the best villain team, period. That beats every generation. Classic Team Rocket. Just every team. It just beats every team. I just can't really say anything else. I can't even say anything about Team Plasma in 5th gen, because wait, Plasma? Wait, or was that 4th gen? God, I'm getting confused. Anyway. Yeah, that's one problem with probably 5th and 4th gen, is that I get their team names mixed up sometimes. So, my brain's derping on that. Anyway. Team Skull beats everyone in that. Everyone. Period. Just overall an amazing group there. And I am looking forward to the post-game, because even in the trailers we did get a little bit of info, known info about the post-game, and to be honest, I can see that also being, I'm not going to count this towards my overall thoughts about the game in terms of deciding which gen I like more, but I would say that the post-game Pokemon Moon is probably going to beat that as well. was another thing I wanted to talk about. My brain's derping right now again. Oh yeah. Darn it, lost my thought. Hate when that happens. Probably because I'm playing this and my brain wants to focus more on this. Me just goofing about with this. Oh yeah, in terms of item collecting, because that's a thing that most people don't actually talk about. I feel like item collecting items were a bit used a bit more than I would have liked, but it wasn't that bad. And, oh, hold on a second. I gotta go check something real quick. Okay. I actually just remembered something since I had to go do something I'd rather not talk about. I remember the HMTM Pokemon Ride thing. Now, to be honest, the Pokemon Ride things that were introduced to remove the HMs in Pokemon Sun and Moon, yeah, that's a huge improvement to the game. Except there's one flaw with it. Because to be honest, throughout the entire Pokemon series, I never had a problem with the HM things where you had to put certain moves on Pokemon so you can actually explore more of the game. I never had a problem with that. Because the thing is, I usually base my team around strong, decent enough moves, and up to where there's enough Pokemon where I can actually use all the HMs that I need in order to go through the game without needing to collect more and more Pokemon. I always got around that, so I never had a problem. Oh, wait. So, wasn't that too much of an issue for me. But I can see how it's an issue to other people, though. And the one flaw with it in Pokemon Moon is the routing of how you go throughout the routes of the game. The reason why I like Gen 5 because it was linear. Because I like the linear way of routing the games instead of the whole super explore every single little nook and cranny, which some people do like. I can understand why, but it's just not. I like it being done. It just feels like I'm just gonna get lost a lot more than I need to. Especially for a Pokemon game. So that's why I like Gen 5's linearity. Linearity. So, yeah. And with Pokemon Moon, the very last Pokemon ride you get also is done with a new terrain type that was never introduced to Pokemon. And it is bad, as it literally is just something that pads out the game for literally no reason. It should not be there. So everything else is fine, but because of that one little mistake at the end, I honestly have to say that 5th Gen's movement of going throughout the routes of the game, throughout the story, is actually a bit better because of that. That last Pokemon ride terrain just kills it. I would have said Pokemon Moon was better, but because of that ending, that just killed part of the enjoyment for me there. So, if I would say, because of that, I felt like I padded out the game for an extra hour and a half. No, not an hour and a half. I mean, like, about half an hour, 45 minutes. Yeah, it was that bad. In terms of, what was the other thing I wanted to discuss? Actually, no, I think that was about it. Yeah, I think that's about it. So, let's answer the one question That's probably been wondered about by now, of my thoughts about this game. Did Pokemon Moon actually surpass my favorite games of Black and White 2 with the 5th gen? Did it? To be honest, I would say it actually ties. I can't really give one or the other game the victory here. There's a lot of good choices that were added to Pokemon Sun and Moon that I really enjoyed, but the problem was that there are choices that I felt like were still good for 5th gen. The rest of the Pokemon games that were just removed and felt like it needs to be fixed again to where it can. It just felt like it tried to fix some things that were not really needed. Like, trying to add more areas to routing in the Pokemon Moon than 5th gen, and probably even 6th gen maybe, I don't know. But most of that dealt with the ending ride, like I said once again, and that was pretty bad, so no to that. So, in all honesty, I can't give one victory to the other. It's just way too close for me to call that. Just way too close. So yeah, overall, it's pretty much a tie. Pokemon Sun and Moon and Pokemon Black and White and Black and White 2, I give these games an actual tie. Honestly, I still have to commend commend? Is that even the right word? I have to give credit where credit is due. The fact that a game even tied my favorite generation of Pokemon Black and White and Black and White 2 with Gen 5, honestly, if there was one game that was going to do it, Pokemon Sun and Moon were probably going to do it. I honestly thought in the end it was going to probably even be my favorite and beat it out, but honestly, I have to give this a tie. I just can't really decide which one is my favorite. I just can't make that call. I honestly think they're equal enough. I honestly think it's enough to be considered tied equal in how good both games are, so yeah, I just can't make that call. And I don't want no one making that call for me either. I don't need to have more people constantly whining about how 5th gen is the worst gen, blah blah blah. Anyway, this has been Vise, and maybe later in the future I might talk about a little bit about the post game. Though if I do talk about the post game, that will contain spoilers. Anyway, I'm done for now. So this has been Vise, and I gotta go work on some video editing for intros and that YouTube trailer thing I need to do for when next year starts. So in terms of videos, the only thing you probably see around here for the rest of the year is maybe speedruns. That's pretty much about it. Anyway, Pokemon Sun and Moon was a great game. It even ties, I'd say it ties my favorite generation. So Black and White 2 and Pokemon Sun and Moon are all tied for my favorite generation. Will it be beaten with the next generation in a few years maybe later? And something tells me I really doubt it. Something tells me I'm going to be playing Black and White 2 and Pokemon Moon a lot more than the inner generation, maybe. Anyway, this has been Vise, and I'll see you guys whenever. Bye-bye for now.